Now, we haven't talked about the Concorde in a while, so I thought it would be nice to talk about it again finally, and to also just fly it. Now, we have definitely talked about this plane a lot in the past on this channel. I even visited a real Concorde in a museum once and made a video about that. That was really cool. But today, let's actually fly the aircraft, because in that video, we didn't see it fly. Let's do some more practical flying itself. Now, I think we all should know pretty much everything about the Concorde. You know, the Concorde had its first flight in 1969, pretty nice date by the way, and around 7 years later, it became an official airliner by entering service. Now, the Concorde was not particularly a successful aircraft, only 20 were built, and actually only 2 airlines were operating it, which was Air France and British Airlines. We have an Air France Concorde here right in front of us. That is really cool. I mean, the plane was not expected to be that much of a success anyway, but it did fly and it did become a real thing. But I mean, honestly, I can probably not tell you anything new about this aircraft after all. It could fly twice the speed of sound, so it was supersonic. Yeah, it could fly at around Mach 2, which was extremely fast. And in order to do that, the Concorde had some design features, I would say. And as you can see, we have this delta wing, which allows for very big speeds. I mean, we see this delta wing on aircraft and spacecraft like the space shuttles and maybe even some fighter jets. These aircraft are designed to be fast, and so is this one. Also, we have thick afterburners in these 4 engines, which give you a lot of thrust. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is gonna get loud. Now, we also have very small windows, which is because the plane is flying at such a high altitude. The windows are genuinely small, like my hand is bigger than these. I mean, I know it because I've been in a real Concorde. Right, this is the cockpit of the Concorde. This is a typical late 60s cockpit. I mean, there are just manual steam gauges, which was very usual, but the cockpit is quite complicated, at least to the untrained eye, I would say. Yeah, this cockpit on first glance looks like the most complicated aircraft of all time, which it might actually be. Yeah, all these buttons here were operated by the flight engineer, and let me just tell you, the flight engineer knew what he was talking about, so they always did a fine job at this place, definitely. It does look very complicated though, and to be quite honest, I don't really know what this all means or is supposed to do either. You know, in order to fly this plane, you have to really get into it and learn how to fly it, and also how to land it, but that is another story. We'll talk about that later. Now let's actually get to the flying part of this video. Let's just take off. Let's just go full power with the afterburners on. I don't know if they used afterburners on takeoff, but I think they might have. Oh wow, this is some quick accelerate. I don't think they used afterburners actually, but whatever, let's use them anyway. As you can see on the outside, this plane is pretty noisy, especially when it used to hit supersonic speeds. Then it was extremely loud on the ground, which was why this plane could only fly over water, over like big oceans, which was definitely a big limitation of this plane. Now in the cockpit and the cabin, this plane is quite okay when it comes to noise. All is good. While the aircraft is flying itself, I guess, let's maybe check out the cabin. Yeah, in the previous video, I already talked about the cabin a lot. It is not very spacious. It's quite cozy actually. I mean, obviously you cannot fit that much in an airframe like this. It's after all supposed to reach supersonic speeds, which it did. And even though this cabin is small, it does serve as a cabin very well, so that is perfect. Oh no. Okay, maybe this cabin walk around was not that much of a good idea, but we're still alive, so that's good. Let's actually go ahead and climb to cruising altitude and cruising speed, more importantly. Actually, close to the ground, you're also able to reach supersonic speeds, but once you're at like 60 or 50,000 feet, you can reach Mach 2 without an issue. Alright, let's just reach Mach 1 though. Alright, we have, and we're dead. Alright, we are now at 50,000 feet. Let's see how fast we can get now. Now, the plane is not very stable, is it? Something is wrong. It's definitely gone dolphin mode now. I don't know how that could happen. Yeah, to be quite honest, I kind of lost control of this aircraft, but let's kind of maintain flying mode. Oh no. Alright, now we are in a stable flight, I would say. Or not. Why is it pitching down? This plane is a little bit strange to fly in such a high altitude. Actually, we're not that that high. We're at only 43,000 feet, but the plane just won't respond, which is kind of strange, but I guess the plane is still fine. Yeah, I guess reaching Mach 2 today won't happen, but I guess the plane flies, and it did reach Mach 2 in real life. I don't know why it is not doing that now, but I probably suck. Oh, I lost control completely. Oh, it's going down. Yeah, something is weird. Let's actually talk about the very interesting part of flying the Concorde, and that is the landing. And as you can see, we're approaching the ocean right... What went wrong here? I still wonder. But it doesn't matter. Let's just approach the airport with this aircraft. Now, something special about the aircraft's wing design, or in general design, is that it is not very nice with low speeds. Because if you go for a low speed, then you won't able to see the runway, which is why Concorde came up with the droop snoop, so that the pilots could actually see the runway, which is a good feature, I would say. Okay, we are landing now. Oh, that was a hard one. I apologize, but it doesn't matter. We touched down. Let's try stopping. All right, this was quite a successful landing, I would say. I mean, not saying it was super hard, but it was. Oh my goodness. By the way, let me just show you the tail landing gear. As you can see, we definitely touched down on the tail there. Jesus, this landing was bad. And in order not to have the tail destroyed in a landing, Concorde came up with it, because obviously the tail wouldn't survive very long otherwise. And I think I figured out why I was not able to fly. It was because the droop snoop was still a little bit down from the takeoff. So let's put that all the way up. I think we will now be able to fly properly. As you can see, this is what it's supposed to look like. Yeah, I apologize for that, and we can now continue to fly. Let's actually go for Mach 2 now. And yeah, it does fly quite well. I mean, it is kind of built like a fighter jet, so you can kind of do maneuvers, right? Okay, that was not good. This plane only flew to very selected places. I wonder how this plane performs on a short runway. Is it a quick stopper or not? You know, I like to operate planes on small runways, so let's do that. But let's first off try doing a successful normal landing. Oh my god. Okay, something that is not good is that I forgot about landing gear. I think I pressed the landing gear button twice, which resulted in this. Let's just ignore that one. Let's actually try a Telluride. Yeah, as I already said, this plane had very selected places. It only flew in Paris and London and New York, because it could, again, only fly over large oceans, which was in this case the Atlantic. Let's just go ahead and approach the airport of Telluride. It really does stall like a fighter jet. It's very interesting. Oh damn, we're running at 140 knots. Now, I don't think Telluride is a suitable place for this airliner, but doesn't matter. Oh my goodness, we touched down. Alright, let's stop. Alright, this is the worst landing I have ever done officially now. Let's see, can we stop even on the small proportion of the runway? And we did. We did. Okay. I mean, we only used like half of the runway or even less, and we still kind of stopped. I mean, it's technically an overrun, but it doesn't matter. And the landing was extremely bad. Jesus Christ. I mean, to my defense, there were a lot of hard Concorde landings. Let me just tell you that. The way the plane landed was not very beneficial for the pilot. But in this case, we stopped, even though we didn't use like half of the runway, which is cool. Now, to end off this video, let's take off the Concorde out of St. Bartholomew. And this is a really short runway. I don't think we'll make it anyway, but it doesn't matter, does it? You can obviously find out a lot more about the Concorde by watching my previous videos, and we're gonna die. Oh, goodness. Oh, I mean, it was actually like closer than I thought. I mean, the plane is a boat now. You know, I have already featured why it was a failure, kind of, or why it was retired after all in 2003 and all that. And we're actually on the ground again. That was a perfect flight. But we have learned in this video pretty much nothing other than that the Concorde is actually able to operate at very interesting places if it just wasn't for the noise and some other issues that the Concorde had. The Concorde was definitely not a perfect plane, but it was really not a bad plane either. Let me just sum up the plane by saying that the plane's imperfections were overshadowed by the plane's perfections. And the plane did a lot of things right, so that was cool. So yeah guys, thank you for watching today's video. Yeah, this is a proper scene to end off the video, and I'll see you tomorrow. As always, good night.